Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to another episode of the Musician's Personal Development Podcast, where we bring you the best actionable tips to help bring you to your best musician self. I am CC Bass.
And I am Wil Cameron.
That's right, you are. All right. So, if you've been listening to our podcast for a while, make sure you take a moment and to click the subscribe button below, because that is going to help increase our visibility, and we're just looking to try to reach as many musicians that want to work on their personal development and take their playing to the next level as possible.
Right.
So, today I am excited because we have another topic that is just near and dear to my heart, and I know you love it, Wil. So, this one is called the ideal musician.
Yes.
Now, ideal that's subjective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's really no such thing as being the best musician in the world. But there are common characteristics that make us likable, and because really the idea is to get called back, right? Is to be in demand. You want to be asked to play. So anyway, what is being the ideal musician to you?
It is, like you said, it's very subjective. So it brings to mind when you were talking about you want to get called back. Brings to mind that, when you're younger and you're on sporting teams, it's like gym class or whatever, and you're that person that nobody wants. I was that person nobody wanted to pick because I was like a little scrawny person when I was younger, even though I'm like 6'2" now. I was the guy that nobody wanted to pick because like, oh gosh, don't pick him because he's little. So I got bigger, I got better, I started getting picked. So there is hope. But as
Yeah.
far as this is concerned, I like this because um, it involves like having and building good relationships, more than one. And Cece, we have this unique, rhythm players have this unique thing where um, I don't want to say we get passed around a lot, but it's if you're a good rhythm player, rhythm section player, guitar, bass, drums, people tend to call you back if you're skillful enough. So if you've got the skill and you have these other qualities that make you the ideal musician, then it's a win-win. So even if you're a solo artist and you don't understand that you are part of a partnership, well, you are because you're dependent upon someone. You're usually playing to an audience, or you got a producer or a sound tech or whatever. So it's really about building relationships, learning how to formulate good relationships, having strategies to make yourself better in that regard. And even if you don't consider that you need this, I think this works well for you. It gives you one of these win-win situations because it helps you to be a better partner. And we're going to
Yeah.
focus specifically on music. We're not talking about partnerships with family members and things like that. That's a different podcast. We're going to focus specifically on the musical end of this.
Right, right. And you bring up all great points there, Will, because it obviously it's not about how many notes you can play, how many scales or how technical you are on your instrument. It is sort of a whole package,
Yes.
approach to it. And so it's very important because and the reason why I like this show and why we wanted to do this is because the intent here is to heighten your awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So there are other factors at play. There are many different factors at
Right.
play, and it's kind of like a formula. You want to put these things together that speak you and that you bring to the table. So
Yeah.
let's get to it. Do you
And
want to
that's but
start in
that's
with
a
the
good
advice?
that's actually a good starting point because if you think about if you're even remotely interested, you think, okay, so all right, I'm listening. So how do I get started?
Hmm.
You know, you got it. You don't just roll out of bed one day and
Right. Well, in true, that they're in true musicians podcast fashion, we're going to provide you with three tips. These are the tips I basically I use that are my top tips because there's so many different ways in which you could get after this. So number one. and you'll hear me say this over and over and over and over again. There's nothing that will replace being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Prepare, hone your craft.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. So what you have to
Yeah.
say about that,
Yeah.
Will?
No, it is. I mean, being prepared and confident, but not to the point where you're arrogant. And remember, we talked about that in a different show. When you have that level of preparation, you're not nervous. You don't have to worry about performance jitters. You're actually focusing on the performance. You're thinking about the music. That's what you're there for. You're not like, oh, did I lock the door? Did I do this or that? It's like you're prepared. You know you locked the door because you checked it before you left. Your focus is on the music, knowing your craft, being able to play the song, knowing the right key, not having excuses, knowing your craft. No substitute. You'll be respected by musicians everywhere just by knowing your craft.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. Number two, be likable. So, you ever walk into a room, or you've seen somebody walk into the room and you can feel that their negative energy, or you can feel their positive energy, and
Mm-hmm.
you really can't quite identify what that is, but you just know they make you feel good about yourself. So that's what we're talking about. It's basically a total package approach. It's
Mm-hmm.
it, it it's whatever you got to do to be that friend, being friendly. So like
Yeah.
if you ask me over to your house, and there's a room full of people, and I walk in and I'm just, so I'm probably not going to be very likable.
Right.
People are probably going to judge me like I'm upset or angry and need to loosen up.
Right.
So it's the same thing with music. I'm coming over, or we're getting together to have a conversation through music. We're hanging out together, having a conversation through music.
Mm-hmm.
You want the atmosphere and the vibe to be good.
It is about the vibe. It is about the vibe. Sometimes I like your explanation of sometimes you walk in and you see somebody. So like I'll go there. Some people are just messy, are troubled. And you don't, I mean, it's not normal to want to be encumbered by somebody who's always troubled or messy, or like everything is a bunch of drama to them. If we're there to play music, that should be our focus. That should be our priority. But if you've got to deal with other things and rumors, or someone who lacks integrity, somebody who's just not going to be a stand-up person, then that's kind of those are all negative things that, I mean, that just takes away from the focus of the music, and it kills the vibe. I mean, if things are like really, if everybody's feeling good about themselves, feeling good about the group, nobody's secretly hating somebody and throwing eye darts at them, the audience can feel that as well. I mean, the vibe carries.
Absolutely.
That vibe carries, good or bad. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
and it sounds simple to say just be likable. Um, we learn that when we're children about how to be likable. So just employing some of that and not being crafty, not trying to outdo someone else. It's not even about that.
You know what? So that also makes me think. The way I like to think about it is that it's a win-win-win situation. You know, the musicians are loving your vibe,
Mm-hmm.
the audience is loving your vibe, and you're feeling good about yourself because the vibe is being
It's
reciprocated.
all
You
about the
know,
vibe.
so win-win-win situation.
Yes.
Just go for that. That's
I'm,
okay. So tip number three,
I'm
our
gonna
last
I'm
one:
gonna jump
add value. That's right. Write that down. Number three is add value.
Yeah.
Okay, so everywhere you go in life, you want to add value because that's how you get the callbacks anywhere. But in the setting of being a musician, you want to find that thing that keeps you getting called back,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's playing the music. Maybe the way you play it,
Mm-hmm.
how you play it, it could be a key, or maybe it could be something. Maybe taking on another duty, maybe singing, or maybe I don't know, providing a rehearsal space. It could be a many things that it could. But here's how you do it. You look at the group situation and you see what is needed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then just see if you can just fill in that gap.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it can be a little thing. If you're the person that
Right.
just happens to have a thing of Lysol wipes with you, hey, I'll wipe down the mics after everybody's done. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
just be that person. Or it's like, oh, I'll help with the PA. It doesn't take me long. I've just got to like bring this one thing and set up. So just be that person. You want to be a part of a team or a group that wins. You want a positive vibe. You want it to be a positive experience for everybody. So
Yeah.
adding value is there's something that everyone can do. Or if you can't do anything, then don't do anything bad or negative to kill everybody off.
Yeah, and speaking of that, when I'm going to a gig, I'm always thinking about what kind of value I'm going to add, and I'm always excited. I'm like, I'm gonna find something. I'm gonna do something that's going to help take us to that next
Hmm.
level because that's always what I'm striving for, definitely. And so I use these tips. I'm giving you these tips because these are the things I actually practice, and this is what helps me take it to the next level. And I'm looking to help push the band up so that we're going together, and that is really the ideal, and that's really some great value to add.
Yes, absolutely. So that's it. I mean, that's like to recap. I mean, those are our three. Um, Having skill, honing your craft is number one. Number two is being likable and having integrity, being someone who is not troubled and brings trouble. And number three is probably the most essential one, adding value. And that just, I mean, even though we're talking about musicians, that pertains to everything you do in life and everywhere you go. You want to try to add value.
Right,
So,
exactly.
so that's pretty much it for our three actionable tips. Was there anything else we wanted to dive into or glance over before we take off?
Well, I think that is it, so I hope you all found these tips helpful, and to help you get started to be that ideal musician. If you're already starting to apply them, that's great. Step outside and look for other ways in which you can become that total package approach. And become that ideal musician. So again, if you like these episodes, you like what we're saying, you could find us on Facebook at MPD Podcast. Please subscribe to the link below. And if you want to send us an email, you could find us email or send us an email at mpdpodcast@gmail.com.
Mhm.
Tell us your story, or if there's a topic that you want to hear
Absolutely.
more about, or if you have a question, or if again, if you want to share your story, we want to hear your
We want to
story.
hear that.
So we
We
absolutely
that
will.
we I
Yes,
can't
absolutely.
emphasize that enough. We want to hear your examples, especially if it's something that we talked about. We want to hear your perspective of it as well. So absolutely. So we want to hear from you.
Absolutely, because this is the forum to be able to do that.
Right.
Anyway, so that's our wrap for today. I am CC Base,
And this is Wil Cameron.
and we will see you next time. We are out of here. All right.